Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is morning prep for Monday, March 7th. Yeah, I'm gonna just go through a quick prep. Basically, we had our gap down with the invasion. We pushed right back up, but we've stayed in this zone, and all of the squeezes have come to set in. We got back to the mean and rejected, but didn't really dive back down to lows. Basically, just stuck between all of these zones. We're at the bottom of most of our squeezes. We have the daily squeeze below at 4,200. Let's see if we continue to reject these trend lines from the highs of last week, and if they send us down to test the daily squeeze bottom, or if we can hold this zone around 4,250. We push back above it, hit mean, and faded to it, bouncing at it pre-market. So let's see if this zone can hold us up, if we need to go see the daily squeeze bottom, or if we push from here on a journey back to the daily moving averages and the highs from last week. NQ, kind of the same thing. There we go. So yeah, NQ kind of the same thing. Fell to a similar zone. Created from the same low on the same day kind of thing. Starting to push off of that zone. We do have the daily squeeze down below. So we should be looking to go long from this point, right? For our normal system, when we get to a larger time frame squeeze cloud, we play off of it. So we should be looking for some decent longs, right? And we do have the daily means up above. Just because we rejected them last week doesn't mean we're going to, it doesn't necessarily mean we have to fire this daily squeeze down. As far as rejecting the daily mean after finally getting there, this could just be profit taking from the drive back up from the sell-off, right? So let's see if these key zones can hold and if we push off from them, or if we start rejecting some of our key levels or the moving averages again. We did reject the daily 21. Sometimes we need to go back and retest the daily 8 to reject and go for new lows. The Ruddy almost back to positive. It's already hit its daily squeeze bottom and started to bounce. Same thing, it has a zone from the lows before the invasion sell-off, so looks like we're holding that zone and pushing off of it on a bid to get back to the daily moving averages and the highs from last week. Looks like Ruddy's already getting through its trend from the highs. So keep an eye on the Ruddy. It could be a good gauge for the indices moving back up. And of course, the Dow will lead. YM already starting to push strong. And yeah, YM and NQ both equally down. So, we'll see if YM can hold these squeeze bottoms that it's starting to push off of on a bid to get back to the moving averages and the squeeze top. but we're in a range, right? Apple. I'm just going to hit the big names and make this short. Apple at the bottom of its 4-hour squeeze, and it looks like it does have a daily pretty much right at pre-market low. So let's see if we want to come back and retest 160 before taking off. That would be a good spot to load Apple long. We do have this trend line from the highs that we need to get through to start trucking back up. Daily moving averages up at 165 up to 167. So big old magnet up there. We could easily get back to it, see what happens once we're there if we reject and come back down. AMD also at the bottom of its daily squeeze, pushing back up. We have key levels up above. We also have the second Keltner down, aligning with this 102 low. So we're very near the lows. Let's see if the trend line keeps us down and we revisit those lows, or if this was close enough and we set in a higher low and push from here back up to the moving averages. Amazon, same kind of dealio, right near the bottom of its daily squeeze. You know, I have on this drawing set at least just a few key levels. We held this 2796, rocketed through this 2881, and once we got back to the mean, we hung out and rejected back through those levels. We're holding this 2881. So let's see if that is enough to bring us back up to this 3012. Facebook. All very similar. We are below 200. And rejecting 200 would mean staying under this trend line, so that would be a good gauge. If we can't get through 200 and this overnight high of 202, we'll be headed back down on Facebook. Google, basically basing at 1 Keltner down. And we got a 4-hour squeeze just above, so not a bad spot for Google to pop back up to go test these daily means. But ultimately, if you can't get back through this high of 2655, we could be stuck between this high and low or fire lower. Microsoft, right at the bottom of its daily squeeze, around this 282, 284. Let's see if Microsoft pushes from here or has to go back to retest 284, 282 during the cash session. You know, if we do pull down on these names to these daily squeezes and hold and consolidate, I'll be looking for more long plays for the week. And we just have all of liquidity right up above at 300 for Microsoft. So definitely check the beasts on the 295s, 300s, and track those. Netflix. We are back down at the lows. In fact, we set a new low this morning from the invasion sell-off. So so if Rest of Tech can remain strong and start to push, Netflix could have a very strong bounce back just because it's gapped down to a new low. So kind of a catch-up trade, right? But it's going to need tech to lead. Otherwise, it's looking a little weaker compared. So let's see, can Netflix stay above this 350, 355 and push off of this daily squeeze on a mission back to 400 and at least the moving averages, right? NVIDIA, bottom of this daily squeeze, starting to bounce already. Pre-market, very similar setup. I would draw some trend lines from these highs. If we can get through those, NVIDIA could push nice and strong back to the daily moving averages up above. If it keeps rejecting that trend line from the highs, it could send us down to this second Keltner down around 215. And we do have the zone from the low at 205. Alright, let's accelerate through the rest of these. QQQ, very similar. Can we hold this squeeze bottom? Push back up, 340. 342, definitely going to be on watch today, as well as 330, 332. And it looks like we'll be opening about in the middle. SPY. Same thing. We do have some of these wicks down to the clouds. So and we're starting to push against the top of this 30-minute squeeze. So let's see if we do a fade back to these wicks and to test the cloud during the live cash session and then catch a bounce. Or if we just keep pushing, basically off this 428, fire this 30-minute up with a goal to get back to the moving averages around 435 up to 440. Tesla. Been on a fade, did not quite get to 900, even though we played those 900 calls a little bit. It did set up some awesome opportunity if you were tracking the beast numbers on puts, both on Thursday and on Friday. It was strong, but everything kind of failed and went lower. And I actually played the 850 puts on the second retest back down. They went about 6 to 20. So yeah, now we are in this 30-minute squeeze, ranging between these two zones of 822 to 851. So let's see if Tesla can get through this squeeze top, or if it provides resistance and we reject back down. Definitely going to be watching the 800 puts and, like 790, 780, as well as the 900s and above. But we do have the highs from last week to deal with. We do have this downtrend that we are starting to break through. Let's see if during the cash session we need to go back and retest this 837 that we chopped around to find a base before we take off, or if we just push through this squeeze top on a bid back to these higher zones and the daily mean at around 870. And last but not least, we should always check in on VIX. Let's see, we had the huge gap up from the Russian invasion. We faded back, but we keep holding the daily 8 and bouncing. Again, holding the daily 8 and bouncing. So that's kind of the key target to the downside right now. Let's see if VIX pumps from this first Keltner up, back down from 33, back down to 31. If it holds there and bounces and pushes back up, we might see more downside. Let's see if it holds this 33 at open and pops. I'm expecting a little bit of a rejection around 35 that would lend to a dip at open to retest some of these levels that held in pre-market. So VIX, we could see a little pop first and a little dip on everything else. See a good key rejection of 35 and head back down, allowing us to pop today. And yeah, we do have a little bit of a wedge going on here. So once VIX starts to break below 33, 32 and a half, or get up to this 35, we could see some interaction with this wedge and provide some great opportunities. So hopefully this was helpful for everybody, and good luck today. We'll see you live in the room.